By the way, who was this person? Some say that he was a high-ranking angel, and others say that he was Jesus in glory as described in Revelation chapter 1. Anyway, when God saw his friend Daniel mourning so sorrowfully, he wanted to comfort him by sending this high-ranking officer with such great glory and honor. Indeed, God esteemed Daniel so highly. Look at verse 7. Daniel was the only one who saw this vision. The men who were with Daniel did not see it, but nonetheless, they sensed something really great present there. At this, they were terrified. Such terror overwhelmed them that they fled and hid themselves. Daniel, however, gazed at this great vision, trying to see it more clearly. But unlike his mind and desire, his body did not function as he wanted. As he gazed at this vision, suddenly all his strength left him. His face turned deathly pale, and he was helpless. Simply, despite his desire to gaze at this great vision, his human body could not bear such glory. There in front of the Holy One who was shining in green glory, Daniel was about to faint, barely standing. Then the Holy One spoke to him, and at this, Daniel's body reached its limit. And his computer shut down, and he fell into a deep sleep, his face to the ground. Then a hand touched him. This touch gave him some strength. It was like jump start. So Daniel came back to his senses, but he was then on his hands and knees trembling. So then the man gave him more strength, saying, Daniel, you who are highly esteemed, consider carefully the words I am about to speak to you, and stand up, for I have now been sent to you. More strength came to him, and Daniel could stand, yet still trembling. Daniel was a righteous man, having a certain glory. He was esteemed by God highly. But the glory the man in his vision had was totally different. Daniel's human body could not bear such glory that it just shut down and it was trembling continually. In verses 14 and 15, the man in the vision spoke to Daniel. Now I have come to explain to you what will happen to your people in the future, for the vision concerns a time yet to come. While he was speaking, Daniel bowed with his face to the ground and was speechless. So Daniel was so thankful that he bowed down to him, and then his thanks was so overwhelming that he could not say anything. No, not because of that. As this man spoke to him, again, he was barely holding himself, but as this man was speaking to him, he was shutting down little by little, and then frozen. Just blank. His mind became blank, that just he was frozen there. Just like a frozen computer. Then the Holy One touched his lips. As a result, new power came to Daniel, that he came back to his senses. And he said to him, I am overcome with anguish because of the vision, my Lord, and I am helpless. How can I, your servant, talk with you, my Lord? My strength is gone, and I can hardly breathe. Even though Daniel was strengthened and thereby could speak. His words were not about a meaningful conversation with him, but just he expressed his difficulty. I can hardly breathe. At this again, the one who looked like a man touched him and gave him strength, saying, "Do not be afraid, O man, highly esteemed. Peace, be strong now, be strong." At this, really great strength came to him, and Daniel could start a meaningful conversation with him, saying, "Speak, my Lord, since you have given me strength." When you think about this passage, we see there is a pattern between the man and Daniel. There was certainly huge gap, totally different glory they possessed. As a result, Daniel could not have any meaningful relationship with him. Simply, even though he wanted to look at him closely, his system was shutting down continually. It's like a computer, keep dying, really. Then the man touched him. This touch gave him strength. And then, still Daniel was struggling. Then he spoke to him. These words strengthened him. His touch, his words gave Daniel strength more and more, that eventually their power level or their glory level was synchronized, and thereby Daniel could have a meaningful conversation, meaningful fellowship with this glorious being. This is how we can have fellowship with God. So the first thing is we need to come to God in prayer continually. There is a fundamental gap between God and us. So we should come to God in prayer continually so that He may have chance to touch us. And also, we must hear God's words continuously so that our strength may be built up, and thereby eventually we can have meaningful conversation with God. So come to God's words. Struggle with the Word of God so that you can hear God's words in your heart. And come to God in prayer. Spend time with God so that you can have contact with God. That way, you will eventually develop good and personal relationship with God. And you will be overjoyed. Also, when you think about this passage, we are really humbled. When we study this one, we are shocked and realize that there are so many things we don't know yet. Even though we have experienced God a lot, even though we have served God's work, still what we know in this spiritual world is so little, poquito. So don't assume that you know so much or you are so great. Such praise comes from God alone. But you yourself really acknowledge the reality. We do not know that much. And we do not have that much glory either. So simply, we pursue God with all our heart and strength, never becoming proud or vainly conceited. Then God will guide us and reveal more glorious things to us continuously.